In a quiet town, kids are disappearing without a trace. When 13-year-old Finny becomes the latest victim, he wakes up trapped in a soundproof basement, at the mercy of a masked psychopath known as the Grabber. But then, a disconnected black phone starts ringing, with voices of the killer's past victims. Their only message: escape before it's too late. To know what happened, watch till the ends. The movie begins in 1978 in North Denver, where a group of kids are playing baseball. Finny Blake is pitching while his sister, Gwen, cheers him on. He throws 2 strikes, but on the 3rd pitch, Bruce Yamada hits a home run, securing the win for his team. Even though Finny loses, Bruce praises him for his strong pitching. Bruce is later seen riding his bike through town, casually greeting some schoolgirls along the way. Suddenly, a black van pulls up in front of him, making him stop. The movie then shifts to Finny and Gwen, who are living with their father, a grieving alcoholic still struggling with their mother's suicide. On their way to school, they come across a crowd gathered around a fight. Moose, the school bully, is fighting with a kid named Robin Ariano. However, Robin proves to be a skilled fighter and brutally beats Moose. As Finny and Gwen continue walking, they see a poster of Bruce missing. Gwen brings up a local kidnapper known as the Grabber after seeing Bruce's missing poster. At school, Finny is cornered in the bathroom by 3 bullies who mock him. Before things escalate, Robin steps in, warning them to leave Finny alone. He also advises Finny to start standing up for himself. Meanwhile, 2 detectives visit the school and question Gwen in the principal's office. Gwen claims she has dreams relating to the missing children taken by the Grabber, but she cannot explain the meaning behind these dreams. The next morning, Finny wakes up and hears Gwen screaming. He rushes to help, only to find his father, Mr. Blake, violently beating Gwen. He's furious because the police came to his job, asking about Gwen's dreams and their connection to Bruce's disappearance. In desperation, Gwen smashes his liquor bottle, but he even beats her harder. He then forces her to say that her dreams aren't real, reminding her that their mother had similar visions, which some believe to be premonitions. Upset, Finny comforts Gwen. The next day, while walking through the neighborhood, Robin comes face to face with a Grabber who is holding black balloons. News of Robin's disappearance spreads quickly, worrying parents in the area, and the police start investigating the case behind this. Meanwhile, the school bullies target Finny again, beating him up. Gwen jumps in to defend him, hitting one of them over the head with a rock, leaving him bleeding badly. In retaliation, another bully kicks Gwen in the face while the others keep attacking Finny. Later during class, Finny is paired up with his crush Donna as his science partner. She offers sympathies for Finny getting beaten. As Finny and Gwen walk home, they eventually go their separate ways. On his way, Finny comes across a man near a van, pretending to have dropped his groceries. But when Finny notices black balloons inside, he realizes something is wrong. Before he can react, the Grabber attacks him, spraying a chemical in his face to knock him out and tosses him into the van. At home, Gwen gets a call from her dad, asking her if Finny is at home. She says no, and soon police arrives at their house to report about Finny's missing. This incident deeply upset Gwen that her brother also got missing like Bruce and Robin. Meanwhile, Finny wakes up in a basement, held captive by the Grabber. There's a small window, but no way for anyone to hear him scream. The Grabber mocks him, but insists that he's special. On the wall, there's an old black phone with no connection. The Grabber claims it has rung before, though he believes it's impossible. Later, the phone rings again, and Finny answers. He hears Bruce's voice, who praises his pitching skills, calling his arm mint. But Bruce doesn't remember his own name or what happened to him. Before the call cuts out, he gives Finny a tip. There's a loose tile on the floor that leads to a space he can dig through. Desperate for a way out, Finny starts digging, flushing the dirt down the toilet to hide his progress. Gwen has a dream where she sees glimpses of Bruce's past, from his childhood to his growing love for baseball. Back in the basement, the Grabber brings Finny eggs and a Sprite, assuring him the food is safe. He also leaves the door unlocked. Just as Finny starts to approach it, the phone rings again. This time, he hears the voice of Billy, a local paper boy. Suddenly, Billy's ghost appears beside him, his face scarred from the Grabber's attack. Billy warns Finny that the unlocked door is a trap. The Grabber is waiting upstairs with a knife. He then tells Finny about a cable hidden in a crack under the wall. Finny finds it, rolls up a mat, and uses the cable to try climbing up to the window. But as he pulls himself up, the bars break under his weight, crashing down with him and leaving him no way to escape. Meanwhile, Gwen has another dream, this time seeing Billy's life before he was taken, delivering newspapers with his dog, unaware of the danger that awaited him. Mr. Blake talks to her about her mother, explaining that she used to have similar visions. He believes those dreams led to her suicide, and he fears Gwen might follow the same path. The detectives visit a man named Max, who has been conducting his own investigation into the missing kids. Max invites the officer into his home and shares his findings about the missing kids. He explains that all the children disappeared while heading home from school, and they all lived in the same district, suggesting the kidnapper may be nearby. The officer asks how long Max has lived in the area, and Max admits he just moved in with his brother. Before leaving, the officer tells Max to keep up his investigation and report anything related to the kidnappings to the police. Meanwhile, Gwen continues piecing together clues from her dreams, hoping to find Finny before it's too late. Back in the basement, the grabber asks Finny for his name. When Finny lies, the grabber throws down a newspaper with his disappearance on the front page, proving he already knows the truth. After he leaves, the phone rings again. This time, Finny hears the voice of Griffin, a boy who was also taken. His ghost appears floating beside Finny, revealing that the grabber plays a twisted game with his victims called Naughty Boy. Griffin tells Finny about a combination he had written down for a lock, though he can't fully remember it. Finny searches for the numbers and waits for the grabber to fall asleep before sneaking upstairs. He tries different combinations until the lock finally clicks open. But just as he's about to escape, the grabber's dog, Samson, starts barking, waking him up. Finny bolts out the door and runs down the street, but the grabber catches up to him. Nearby neighbors turn on their lights, sensing something is wrong. The grabber presses a knife to Finny and threatens to kill him on the spot if he makes a sound. Finny stays silent, and once the lights turn off, the grabber drags him back inside. The phone rings again, and this time, Finny hears the voice of a local troublemaker named Vance Hopper. A flashback shows Vance at an arcade, where he got into a fight with two kids after one of them messed with his high score. He was arrested soon after. Finny takes Vance's advice and finds a hidden space behind the wall, discovering a freezer. He tries pushing the door open with all his strength, but it won't budge. Overcome with fear, he breaks down, thinking he's going to die there. Just then, the phone rings once more. This time it's Robin's voice. He remembers Finny and his own life, telling Finny he's always been his friend. Robin encourages him to stand up for himself now, more than ever. He then advises Finny to use the phone as a weapon, telling him to fill the receiver with dirt to make it heavier. Meanwhile, Gwen rides her bike through the area, trying to remember the house number, but she's spooked by the ghosts of the grabber's victims. She locates the house and contacts the detectives and takes them to the address she saw in her dreams. Meanwhile, Max looks at his findings and figures out that the missing kids are in the house he's staying at because the grabber is his brother. He hits the basement and is shocked to find Finny there. But before he can help, the grabber kills Max with an axe to the head. He then goes after Finny, but the boy has already used all the help from the ghost kids. Finny sets up a rug over the hole he dug and uses the cable to trip the grabber, sending him falling into the hole. The grabber's ankle breaks as he hits the window bars. Finny takes advantage of the situation, using the phone to repeatedly strike the grabber. Just as the phone rings one last time, Finny forces the grabber to listen to the voices of his victims, mocking him. Finally, Finny snaps the grabber's neck. To distract the dog, Samson, Finny grabs a steak from the freezer and tosses it to the dog. The detectives search the house, but it's empty until one officer discovers the basement. Instead of finding Finny, they uncover the bodies of 5 other boys buried in the dirt. The house where Finny was being held is across the street. He finally unlocks the door and steps outside into the sunlight, where Gwen spots him and runs to her brother. The authorities take care of the kids, and their father arrives, tearfully apologizing for how he treated them. Finny returns to school with a new sense of confidence. The other kids now see him as a legend for killing the grabber, and the bullies no longer dare to pick on him. He rejoins Donna in science class and, with a smile, asks her to call him Finn. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more interesting movie recaps.